Listen closely, because what I'm about to say might sound almost too gentle to be powerful, and yet it is the very thing that moves mountains without breaking a single nail. You do not need to wrestle life into submission. You do not need to chase, force, beg, manipulate, overthink, or exhaust yourself into success. You were never designed to live that way. Results are not born from strain. They are commanded through alignment. Now, before your mind jumps up and says, "That sounds nice, but my life says otherwise," let me assure you, you are not wrong for feeling tired. You are not weak for feeling frustrated. And you are certainly not broken because effort hasn't produced ease yet. Many intelligent, hard-working, good-hearted people are exhausted simply because they were taught the wrong method. They were taught to push harder when things resisted. They were taught that tension equals progress. They were taught that if something isn't working, it means they must apply more force. And so they do, and they grow weary. And then they begin to wonder what is wrong with them. Nothing is wrong with you. You've just been trying to open a door that was meant to be unlocked, not kicked down. Think about how absurd it would be to shout at a seed to grow faster, or to pull at the leaves to make the plant taller. Nature would laugh quietly and continue at its own perfect pace. And yet, when it comes to our lives, our money, our health, our relationships, our dreams, we shout at ourselves constantly. Hurry up, try harder, fix this now, make it happen. Why isn't it here yet? And in all that noise, we miss the law that governs effortless results. The core challenge you're facing is not that you lack discipline, intelligence, or ambition. The challenge is that you have been operating from willpower instead of authority. And there is a vast difference between the two. Willpower says, "I will make this happen even if it drains me." Authority says, "This must happen because it aligns with who I am." One is exhausting. The other is calm. One creates resistance. The other dissolves it. Have you ever noticed that the things you desperately try to force tend to slip away, while the things you casually expect often show up unannounced? You weren't gripping them tightly. You weren't watching the clock. You weren't measuring progress every 5 minutes. You simply assumed they would happen. And so they did. This is not coincidence. This is law. Life responds not to effort, but to assumption. Not to struggle, but to expectancy. Not to begging, but to command. Now, when I say command, I don't mean shouting affirmations at the universe like you're trying to intimidate it. I mean something far quieter and far more powerful. Command is an inner posture. It is the settled knowing that something is already arranged. It is the refusal to entertain alternatives that contradict your good. Let me make this practical, because spirituality without practicality is just decoration. When you are forcing something, your body tells the truth before your mind does. Your shoulders tighten. Your breath becomes shallow. Your thoughts race. You rehearse conversations that haven't happened. You plan 10 steps ahead because you don't trust life to meet you halfway. That is force. And force is a confession of doubt. But when you are aligned, your breath deepens. Your mind becomes selective. You stop explaining yourself to imaginary judges. You take inspired action, not frantic action. You move, but you are not chased by time. That is command. Here is a simple framework that will help you see the difference clearly. Forcing says, "I need this to happen so I can finally feel okay." Command says, "I am okay, therefore this happens." Forcing starts with lack. Command starts with fullness. Forcing asks, "How can I get?" Command declares, "This belongs." This is why so many people work endlessly and still feel behind. They are trying to use motion to create identity. But identity always comes first. Life rearranges itself around who you believe yourself to be, not how hard you sweat. You do not attract what you want. You attract what you consent to, and consent is quiet. It is not dramatic. It does not argue. It simply allows. Let me say something that might make you laugh a little. The universe is not impressed by your panic. It does not respond faster because you stayed up all night worrying. It does not reward urgency born of fear. In fact, panic often delays things because it signals mistrust. It says, "I don't believe you'll come through," So I'll take over. And life gently steps back and says, very well, show me what you can do without me. That is when things feel heavy. But the moment you relax into authority, life leans forward again. Authority is born when you stop negotiating with fear. Fear will always offer opinions. What if it doesn't work? What if this is the wrong move? What if you're too late? What if you're not enough? And forcing tries to answer every one of those questions. Command ignores them. Command does not argue with fear. It simply does not give it the microphone. You see, you were never meant to micromanage outcomes. Your role is to choose the state. Life handles the details. This is where people get confused. They think letting go means doing nothing. Not at all. Letting go means releasing resistance, not responsibility. You still act. You still show up. You still say yes when opportunity knocks. But you stop strangling the process. There is a kind of action that comes from fear, and there is a kind of action that comes from faith. They may look similar on the outside, but they feel entirely different on the inside. Fear-driven action says, I must do this, or else. Faith-driven action says, I am moved to do this. One drains you, the other energizes you. If you want to command results without forcing anything, you must learn to pause before you push. Ask yourself one honest question. Am I doing this because I trust life, or because I don't? That single question can save you years. Now, I know some of you are thinking, but if I relax, won't everything fall apart? That thought alone tells me how long you've been carrying the weight of the world on your shoulders. Let me relieve you of that burden gently. You were never holding everything together. You were cooperating with something far greater than your personal effort. Think of a ship. When the sails are aligned with the wind, the journey is smooth. When they fight the wind, progress is slow and exhausting. The wind does not need to be forced. It needs to be caught. Results are the same way. You don't chase them. You position yourself to receive them. And positioning is inner work. Here is where humor helps, because we humans are quite funny creatures. We say we trust life, but then we check the door every 5 minutes to see if it's arrived yet. We say we're calm, but we refresh our email like it owes us money. We say we've let go, but we secretly keep a spreadsheet of outcomes. And life, with infinite patience, waits until you truly mean it. Let me offer you a small practice you can try today. Not tomorrow, not next week. Today, choose one thing you've been forcing. Just one. It could be money. It could be validation. It could be a response from someone. It could be clarity about your future. And for the next 24 hours, do not attempt to solve it. Instead, assume it is handled. Not, I hope it will be handled. Assume it already is. When the mind starts pacing, say quietly, that's settled. When the urge to overdo arises, say, I act when I'm led. When fear knocks, do not slam the door. Simply, don't answer. This is not passivity. This is mastery. You will be surprised how quickly life moves when it is no longer being chased. Command does not come from volume. It comes from certainty. And certainty is built through repetition. Each time you choose trust over tension, you strengthen the muscle of authority. You don't need to force outcomes. You need to stop contradicting them. If your words say you expect good, but your inner dialogue rehearses disaster, life listens to the louder voice. And the louder voice is usually the one spoken in emotion, not language. So begin there. Clean up the inner tone. Speak to yourself as someone who expects cooperation from life, not resistance. I promise you this. When you stop pushing against the current, you will discover you were being carried all along. Now let's go a little deeper, because once you stop forcing, something curious happens. A quiet discomfort appears. And people don't often talk about this part. When you remove struggle, the ego feels unemployed. It says, wait a minute. If I'm not striving, worrying, fixing, controlling, what exactly am I here for? And that is where many people panic and run back to effort like an old, exhausting friend. So, let me normalize this for you. If easing up feels unfamiliar, even unsettling, that does not mean you are doing it wrong. It means you are doing something new. Most people are addicted to effort because effort feels like safety. If I'm busy, I'm protected. If I'm worried, I'm responsible. If I'm exhausted, at least I tried. But effort without alignment is just movement in circles. It keeps you occupied without moving you forward. Command requires something that effort does not. Trust in invisible movement. And yes, I know how that sounds. Invisible movement does not look impressive on a to-do list. You can't post it online. You can't brag about it at dinner, but it is the most productive state you will ever occupy. Here is the great misunderstanding that keeps people forcing outcomes. They believe that if they relax, life will forget them. As though the universe is a distracted clerk who needs constant reminders. As though blessings only arrive if you stand at the counter tapping the bell. Life does not forget aligned intention. It responds to it with precision. Think of gravity. You don't wake up every morning hoping it still works. You assume it does. And because you assume it, you move freely. You walk without checking. You sit without anxiety. That assumption gives you ease. Now imagine if you treated your good the same way. The trouble is, many people secretly believe good must be earned through strain. That rest is something you get after everything is resolved. But rest is not the reward. Rest is the method. There is a reason inspired ideas often arrive in the shower, on a walk, or just before sleep. The mind has loosened its grip. The internal shouting has stopped, and in that quiet, direction can finally be heard. Commanding results without forcing anything requires you to become comfortable with silence. Not external silence, necessarily. Internal silence. The pause before reaction. The breath before decision. The space where you don't rush to fix what hasn't actually broken. Let me tell you something gently but firmly. Most problems do not need more action. They need less interference. You interfere when you keep checking, correcting, doubting, reworking, explaining, and defending. You interfere when you demand proof before peace. You interfere when you say, "I'll relax when this works," instead of, "This works because I'm relaxed." This is not positive thinking. This is intelligent cooperation with law. Every system responds best when it is not overloaded. Even your body knows this. Stress weakens it. Calm strengthens it. The same principle applies to outcomes. Let's talk about timing, because this is where forcing really shows itself. Forcing is obsessed with when. When will it happen? Why hasn't it happened yet? What if it's late? What if I missed my chance? Command has a very different relationship with time. Command understands that things unfold when they can be received without harm. And sometimes what feels like delay is actually protection. I have seen people get exactly what they wanted too early and then lose it just as quickly. Not because it was wrong, but because they were not settled enough to hold it. Command waits until you are internally stable, not externally desperate. And here's the humorous part. We often think we are waiting on life, when life is waiting on us to stop panicking. You don't delay your good with mistakes. You delay it with resistance. Resistance shows up as impatience, as comparison, as obsession, as the constant measuring of progress. And measurement is sneaky. It pretends to be responsibility, but it is often just fear in a sensible outfit. Command does not measure constantly. It expects. Expectation is a calm state. It is not excited. It is not dramatic. It is settled. If you've ever ordered something online and truly trusted it would arrive, you didn't sit by the door all day. You lived your life. And one day, there it was. That is the posture of command. Now, let's bring this into daily life, because that's where it matters. When you wake up in the morning, notice your first thought. Is it a rush? Is it a list of problems? Is it a tightness in the chest? That first thought sets the tone of force or flow. Try this instead. Before getting out of bed, say quietly, "Everything I need meets me today." Not as a plea, as a statement. Then move through your day responding, not chasing. Responding means you answer what appears in front of you. You don't hunt for trouble. You don't borrow tomorrow's worries. You don't replay yesterday's mistakes. You stay present and available. This alone will change how people respond to you. Calm presence is magnetic. Desperation repels, even when it is hidden behind politeness and competence. People can feel when you need something from them versus when you are simply open. Opportunities behave the same way. Another thing forcing does is it tries to control how the result arrives. This is a very common trap. You decide not only what you want, but the exact route it must take, and then you dismiss everything else as irrelevant. Command is more flexible. It states the end and allows the means to surprise it. Many blessings arrive disguised as interruptions. A conversation you didn't plan, a delay that reroutes you, a rejection that redirects you. Forcing would label these as obstacles. Command recognizes them as adjustments. You don't need to understand everything. You need to trust the direction. Now let's address action again, because I don't want this misunderstood. Command does not mean sitting on the couch waiting for miracles to knock. It means acting from clarity instead of compulsion. Before you take an action, ask yourself, am I moved or am I pressured? Pressure shouts. Movement nudges. Movement feels light, even when it requires courage. Pressure feels heavy, even when it looks logical. You can do the same task from two different states and get entirely different results. For example, sending a message because you're anxious will often produce silence or confusion. Sending the same message when you feel centered produces cooperation. The words may be identical. The state is not. State is everything. Your inner atmosphere is constantly broadcasting. And life responds to the broadcast, not the script. If you want to command results, tend to the atmosphere. Make it calm, make it expectant, make it spacious. One of the quickest ways to shift out of forcing is gratitude, but not the frantic kind. Not, I must be grateful so things improve. That's still force. I mean the quiet noticing of what is already working. Gratitude says, I see evidence of support. And where attention goes, energy follows. When you acknowledge even small signs of flow, you invite more. When you complain about delay, you extend it. This isn't punishment. It's mechanics. You don't scold a radio for static. You adjust the frequency. And yes, sometimes adjusting the frequency means doing less, not more. It means saying no where you used to overcommit. It means resting without guilt. It means letting someone else handle something you insisted on controlling. Rest is not laziness when it restores clarity. It is strategy. Let me say something that might surprise you. The more spiritually aligned you become, the less dramatic your life needs to be. You stop craving chaos as proof of progress. You stop mistaking intensity for importance. Command is quiet, almost boring to the ego, but extraordinarily effective. You will know you are commanding instead of forcing when you stop trying to convince people, circumstances, or yourself. Convincing is effort. Knowing is authority. You don't argue with gravity. You don't explain the sunrise. You don't persuade the tide. You expect. That is the posture we are cultivating here. And yes, the mind will test you. It will say, but what if nothing happens? Smile at that thought. It is just old training resurfacing. Thank it for its concern, and continue in trust. Trust is not blind. It is practiced. Each day you choose not to force, you build evidence. Each day you respond instead of chase, you strengthen alignment. Each day you allow instead of grip, you become more authoritative. Authority is not loud. It is unmistakable. Now we arrive at the place where everything we've spoken about becomes lived experience. Not just a lovely idea you nod along to and then forget when life pokes you in the ribs. This is where command turns into a way of being. Not a technique you try for a week and abandon when the mind gets impatient. The final shift is this. You stop trying to get life to respond to you, and you start responding as if life already has. That may sound subtle, but it is revolutionary. Most people are living in reaction. They react to bills, messages, moods, opinions, numbers, delays, silence, news, and memories. Reaction keeps you in force because reaction assumes something has power over you. Command assumes you are already positioned. When you command, you move first internally. You decide the tone before the event. You choose the meaning before the circumstance assigns one. You do not wait for permission to feel settled. And here's the part that makes people laugh when they finally see it. The moment you stop trying to control outcomes, outcomes become far more cooperative. Life is a mirror, but not the kind that reflects your words. It reflects your expectation. An expectation is not what you say out loud. It's what you assume when no one is watching. Ask yourself honestly, what do you assume after you've done everything right? Do you assume it will work, or do you brace for disappointment? Do you assume support, or do you quietly prepare for struggle? That quiet preparation is the command you've been issuing. The good news is, you can change that command at any moment. Not through effort, through decision. Command is a decision to no longer rehearse unfavorable outcomes. It is a decision to stop narrating worst-case scenarios like bedtime stories. It is a decision to redirect imagination toward cooperation instead of conflict. Imagination is not fantasy. It is rehearsal, and life tends to follow rehearsal. Now, let me be very clear, because clarity dissolves confusion. Commanding results does not mean you never feel doubt, fear, or uncertainty. It means those feelings no longer get to run the meeting. They can sit in the room, but they don't get the microphone. You feel fear, and you still proceed calmly. You feel uncertainty, and you still expect support. You feel impatience, and you still refuse to rush. That is mastery, and mastery feels strangely ordinary. There are no fireworks, no dramatic turning point, just a growing sense that you are no longer wrestling with life. Here is one of the simplest signs that you've stopped forcing. You stop explaining yourself unnecessarily. You don't over-justify your choices. You don't over-promise. You don't over-defend. You speak plainly and move on. Forcing seeks approval. Command assumes alignment. You also notice that your words change. You stop saying, "I hope," and start saying, "I expect," not arrogantly, casually, as if it's obvious, and life responds to obviousness. One of the most practical habits you can develop from today forward is this. Before reacting, pause for one breath, just one. In that breath, ask, what would certainty do here? Certainty does not hurry. Certainty does not beg. Certainty does not panic. Certainty chooses the next clean step and releases the rest. Another sign you're commanding is that you stop chasing closure. You don't need every situation wrapped in a bow. You allow things to unfold without forcing resolution. And often, resolution arrives faster when you stop demanding it. Let's talk about relationships for a moment, because this is where forcing is especially tempting. People often try to force connection, respect, attention, or understanding. And the more they push, the more resistance they meet. Command in relationships looks like this. You show up fully, you speak honestly, and you release the outcome. You don't shrink to be chosen. You don't perform to be valued. You don't chase to be loved. You hold your state. And those who align move closer. Those who don't fall away without drama. This applies to money too. Money responds poorly to desperation and beautifully to order. When you command financially, you treat money as something that circulates toward you, not something you must hunt. You make decisions from clarity, not fear. You stop panicking about timing. You trust that provision is responsive to alignment. And slowly, almost humorously, you notice that needs are met in unexpected ways. Not always how you planned, often better. This is why command requires humility. Not the shrinking kind, but the kind that admits, I don't need to know how. Forcing insists on understanding every step. Command is comfortable with mystery. Mystery is not chaos. It is intelligence beyond your current view. Now, let's bring this home with something you can do immediately after this video ends. Choose one area of your life where you will practice non-forcing for the next 7 days. Just one. Not everything at once. That would be forcing. In that area, commit to 3 things. You will not rush decisions. You will not rehearse negative outcomes. You will act only when calm, when the urge to push arises. Smile. That smile is not denial. It is awareness. It says, there you are, old habit. I see you. I choose differently. Then redirect your attention to what is already supporting you. The ground under your feet, the breath in your body, the fact that you are here, listening, capable of change. Small shifts compound quickly. By the end of the week, you will feel something subtle but powerful: space. And in that space, solutions appear. Not because you hunted them, but because you finally made room. And here is the paradox that always delights me. When you stop forcing, you do not become passive, you become precise. Your actions carry weight, your words land. Your presence communicates confidence without effort. That is command. You were never meant to bully life into cooperation. You were meant to align with it. Life is not resisting you. It is responding to you. So respond first with calm. Respond first with trust. Respond first with expectation. And watch how quickly things rearrange themselves. If this resonated with you, don't let it drift away like a pleasant thought. Try it. Test it. Life loves to be tested in this way. And if you found yourself nodding, smiling, or feeling that quiet yes inside, stay connected. Engage. Share your experience. Let others know what shifts when you stop forcing and start commanding. Because the moment you realize you were never meant to struggle this hard is the moment everything begins to soften in your favor. And that, my dear friend, is where real results begin.